Oh my god. Guys, wake up! It's Education Today's 202nd episode. It's about to air right now!
What?
Education Today starts now!
Welcome to Education Today. I'm Chris Garatano, Armstrong School District's multimedia technician. Education Today has been running for 5.5 years now and is entering its 7th season. The show has experienced many modifications and changes in its short time on air. The set design, hosts, equipment, and graphics are just to name a few. In addition to it being Education Today's 7th year, it is also the 7th year for TV production at the high school level. Today, in part 1 of a 2-part episode about the TV programs at Armstrong School District, we have brought in Mr. Don Swanson. Mr. Swanson is the former head of AHS-TV studio and current teacher in the school district. Don, well, wait a minute, Don. If I'm on this side of the camera and you're on this side of the camera, who's on that side of the camera?
I don't know.
We are.
Oh, okay.
Well, less than enthusiastic we are, but in any case.
Katanning TV production is on that side of the camera. Good job, guys.
All right, well, in any case, I guess we should move on with the program. I mean, we do have the cameras rolling, so.
That's true.
Might as well do that. Well, Don, we gave a little bit of a discussion about yourself already, but why don't you introduce yourself for the fans at home and tell us what your role is within the district.
My name's Don Swanson. I'm currently an English teacher, and I teach TV production at Katanning Senior High School.
Sounds like a stupendous job. Do you
It's
enjoy
tremendous, actually, and I enjoy it very, very much.
Good. This program has come a long way since its inception in the district. Can you speak a little bit to that?
Well, when it first started, it was 2004. And I was actually hired in May of 2004. And on my very first day on the job, they brought me here to Katanning Junior High School, and they showed me 3 locations in the building and asked me how I'd convert each space into a usable district studio. And from that point, I had to design the studio, oversee its construction, working with the ASD maintenance folks. We were fortunate enough to have a lot of high-end equipment donated from AHS-TV from Worthington. That stood for Armstrong County Community Television. And it took about probably close to 6 months to get the whole thing to come together in terms of building the studio and getting the equipment in and everything. But it was challenging but very rewarding once we got started.
So your first position in the district then was as the multimedia technician.
Yes.
What kind of responsibilities did you have at the onset?
Well, like I said, designing the studio, overseeing its construction. Everything that we had donated from AHS-TV was actually in storage at Lenape Elementary's basement. So I had to go through, inventory all of that, check stuff to see if it worked. The biggest challenge, aside from the studio, was actually going to turn out to be the high school. So I had to work closely with those teachers, do inventories of their equipment checks and things like that. And really the very, very beginning was all about getting the studio space built and getting the equipment we needed, to produce here at the district studio and also at the schools as well.
Right. Well, what was it like? I mean, I would imagine it was just a tremendous experience and opportunity to design your own studio. What was that like?
That was cool. That was pretty cool. I went to IUP for my undergrad and my graduate, same as yourself. And I also did a semester of graduate school at Clarion, where I was a TA teaching TV production to the underclassmen there. So I kind of pulled from both of those experiences and took elements from both studios that I liked to the best of my ability and kind of mold them into something that I thought would be most beneficial to what we were trying to do here and also what fit physically and fiscally and what we were actually doing with the school district.
Outstanding. What was the feeling seeing this all come together when it was all complete and you're up and ready to run and roll the cameras?
It was cool. It was cool. The very first taping day the school district made a pretty big deal out of it. We had all the top administrators here. We had a couple school board members. There was actually a reporter from the Leader Times, if I remember correctly. And it was just a high energy kind of day, and it was tremendously exciting. It was cool.
Don, I know that there were a lot of challenges when this whole thing got started up. There was some adverse reactions to the program at first, things of that nature, but it all ended up working out in the end. Can you explain a little bit about the other challenges you encountered?
Some of the challenges were, in the very beginning, based fully around the equipment. Some equipment didn't work. We were missing some key pieces of equipment. Between AHS-TV and here, things were damaged. There were a couple things that apparently never made it, and we'd have no idea what ever happened to those. So they had to be replaced or they had to be fixed. The physical studio space was a challenge. The lighting grid was difficult to get up, I remember that, as well as soundproofing and fireproofing our ceiling up there was one of the big things that we had to go through various vendors to try to figure out the best way to do. And in addition to that, it was a challenge, but it was a fun challenge to work with the teachers at all the different high schools to try to figure out the best way to educationally link the studio to what they were doing in the classrooms in terms of the TV production classes.
Okay. Well, you talked a little bit about the equipment. You mentioned that. And there is a lot of equipment down here in the studio, updated equipment, different types of things down here. How did you film the first episodes of Education Today? And when you first started, were the students immediately involved in the filming, or was it like a skeleton crew that you used?
The students were immediately involved in the filming. If I remember correctly, it was Ford City High School had the first filming day. And I believe there were about 12 kids. At the time, the studio was functional, but not what I'd consider necessarily ready. But it was one of those things, can we go? And ultimately the answer is yes, and so we went. At the time, we did not have a working teleprompter. We didn't have the big lights for a lighting grid up there, so we had to put up on sticks a 3-point lighting setup around the set. We used a HOD, or just a music stand, to set cue cards up on. And John Zish, who at that time was recently hired as the school and community relations coordinator, made up the cue cards. He went to Walmart to buy them on the day. One of the girls from Ford City wrote everything out, and we set them between the two cameras, and she actually read along with John and pulled them down as need be. So we did a lot of improvisation like that to get through those first couple taping days.
Yeah, I remember seeing some of the video, old behind-the-scenes footage of the cue cards, and I mean, cue cards were as big as this table, if I remember seeing it correctly, and the words written out real big. That had to have been tedious, because these scripts, I mean, it's hard enough to type them all out, believe it or not, but to have to write all of that out like that, but it worked, And,
yes, it did.
And I think it's worth noting too that we mentioned at the very beginning, you and I are both on this side of the camera, and because John's position has been moved and he now works with the district in a different capacity, he can't be here. He would be the one who'd normally host Education Today, and I've taken over that duty, and something I'm happy to do. But with John being not in the picture now, or not down here with us now, and me being on this side, we have an entire student crew behind the cameras for us today.
Yes, we do.
I think it's worth noting this is their first visit down to the studio, except for one member, and the one member is actually directing our show for us today. He was down here last year as part of the TV production class, so he has an idea what's going on back there.
Cameron Smith.
Yep, Cameron. And
Yes,
Cameron, we
Smith.
appreciate that. Thank you back there. And he's doing a good job, and so's everyone else. So for this to be there, only have the morning to really work on it and be able to come out here this afternoon and be able to film this for us. Of course, the show isn't aired until the evening, but and it's tape delayed. But they're doing a great job for us already. So during your tenure as the multimedia technician, how did the studio evolve from where it started?
Well, like I had said, when we first started filming episodes of Education Today, it worked, but it wasn't completely where it should have been. So one of the things was we got a teleprompter and we got it working. We got the lights up on the lighting grid. Those were the two biggest things that we had working against us. The original set was modeled after a show that the school district had done previously on Family Life TV called Focus on Education. And at the time, the administration wanted to keep that same feel and everything. So it was basically Focus on Education, produced by Armstrong School District with a different name. And the name was ultimately decided on by superintendent at the time, Dr. Kerr, and we got some bookcases in and we set it up in the back and we put this desk in front of it. And the set's something that has obviously changed a lot in the past 7 years. It went from a bookcase that eventually actually collapsed over Christmas break one year, and from there we had a single bookcase with the sign, what I guess we would call the antique trademark Education Today sign that's been there since the very beginning, yes. And that was above the bookcase with a black background. At one point in time, I believe we brought in some fake plants for a short period of time, and then those who are fans of the show have seen the set in terms of the backdrop evolve over the last 2 years.
Yes, I mean, the set is something that I decided to take on, and I wanted to try to make it, change the view of the show a little bit. And I had a lot of help and support. I think it's definitely worth mentioning John Morta, a woodshop teacher here at the junior high, and Mark Mishkin, his janitorial staff, as well as Josh Miklos, teacher down at the high school, and his Power Tech students, I believe it was. They did a great job. They all contributed to helping me put this set together, especially the sign that's behind Don here. That was what was done entirely by Josh and his students, so I can't thank them enough for everything that they've done to help us move along as well. And as Don mentioned, the sign behind me here, that's the antique of our show. It's our trademark. It probably won't go anywhere anytime soon either, but that and the desks are the only things remaining. Even our chairs are updated
Yes,
now,
they are, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, they're a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah, it's definitely a good
You're not going to
thing,
fall
yes.
off of these ones.
Yes.
So, Don, when you were down here working at the studio, what was your favorite part about it?
My favorite part was, without a doubt, working with the students. In terms of being the multimedia technician in general, it was always working with the students. I did enjoy designing the studio. I thought that was cool. I enjoyed having the budget to work with, and I actually enjoyed the creativity it took to use the budget as smart as you possibly could to try to balance everything out fairly for what the studio needed and the schools needed as well. But ultimately working with the students. I always looked forward to taping days up here. That was always the highlight of the week in terms of the job. And in the beginning, the teachers in the schools, and it was Ed Bauer at Katanning, Barb Keller at Ford City, Ren Still at West Shamokin, and Bobby Hamill for the TV club at Elderton, would call me in frequently in the beginning to help supplement some things they were doing with the kids, to go over something, to teach mini lessons and the like. And anytime I had interaction with the students was by far my favorite part of the job, and I suppose that's why I teach it now.
I mean, I have to agree. In the position that I'm in now, my favorite part is having the students down here, and I was really excited coming into this year because this year we have more TV production classes than we ever have had in 1 year rotating. Normally we would have 2 taping days per month, and we had, I think the most we had in the past was 6 classes. This year we have 8, 5 of which are up at Katanning, and it's really great that we have, that the program continues to develop, and now because I get a taping day, we can get students down here every week. It's really something that is the real bright spot of this being able to work in this position. Well, that's the first part of tonight's episode. We're going to take a short break, and we're going to be right back with more of Armstrong School District's Education Today. Stick around.
Before I came to IUP, I had no idea what college would be like, or what role I would play, or where I'd be in the future. But when I came to IUP, everything changed. I met people who really made me feel like I belonged. I had great classes at a great nationally ranked university. Hi, my name's Megan Miller. I'm a fine arts major, and this is my university.
We're back with Armstrong School District's Education Today to talk a little bit more about Education Today's past, current, and future. Something I didn't mention before, and part of the reason we're doing this anniversary-styled episode, is Education Today recently surpassed its 200th episode. It was the last episode aired during last season, its 6th season on air. So Education Today's hitting milestones left and right, and now we're ready to hit this year running and head towards our next 100 episodes. Dawn, I know that you now teach at the Katanning High School. What classes are you teaching there?
This year I have 5 sections of TV production. I have 5 students enrolled in TV Production 2 as an independent study course, Cameron Smith being one of them. And this year I have one 12th grade English class as well.
Okay. I know that in your this is your second stint, I guess, teaching TV production at the high school already, and I know that the program has grown a lot, but can you just talk about how the program has grown within the high school level itself?
Well, when it first started in the 2004 to 2005 school year with Mr. Bauer, he had 4 students, and he had another student that kind of took the class but not officially. From that point in time, it grew to where Mr. Bauer averaged about 10 to 12 kids a class. I believe it was the 2006-2007 school year. He had 2 classes with about 20-some students. And then my first year teaching TV production, which was 2008 to 2009, I had 2 classes totaling about 24 students. And then last year it jumped to about 40, and this year there are nearly 60 students total taking TV production.
That's maybe a testament. Do you think it's because of spreading through word of mouth, or?
I think that's a part of it, and also at Katanning in particular, the TV production runs the morning announcements, and it's a chance for the students to do some fun and creative things to get it out to the school to see. And I know a lot of times some of the kids that are taking it now, who are actually our film crew today, have told me part of the reason they took it was they would see the morning announcements and either think it was neat or, you know, kind of see it as a challenge, you know, like I think I could do better than that or something to that effect. And a lot of it is also word of mouth. I think it's a class of students enjoy taking. It gives them a chance to do something other than a traditional class, you know, a lecture kind of class. They're actually hands-on doing things. They get to come here, which is definitely a popular part of the course and something that's out there as well.
Okay. I was going to, you know, ask you something along the lines of what you would attribute the growing interest to because of the increase in classes. I think we really covered that.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
You know, like I mentioned before the commercial break, we have 8 classes this year, and it's really, and I think that Elderton didn't offer a class this year. I think that that's coming around, though, where they might offer a club throughout at some point this year. I know they're interested in doing the morning announcements much the same way as Ford City and Katanning do now. And West Shamokin does them too, but I know Elderton's starting to come along too, and we're trying to get them up and running now, and we'll see, hopefully we get them up and running this school year. If not, by the next school year, we'll get them up and running as well. And maybe we'll add yet another class, you know, for them to come down and partake in this, what I think is a great opportunity for the students that are here now.
Oh, yeah, it is. It's a wonderful opportunity for the students that are here now. And the way I looked at it, and the way I approached it back when I had your job when it first started, and the way that those first teachers looked at it as well, was that education today is a lab component to what we do in the high schools. You know, it's a chance for the students to get out, to get in an actual studio. You know, and as we've said before, the students are running the show. We have a student director, we have a student switching cameras, we have students balancing audio, we have a student on the teleprompter, we have a student floor director. You know, I mean, all these positions which are part of a working television studio are being completely run by the students. And I think that it just is a way for them to see what we do at the high school level, you know, in the classes, but to get a chance to go into a real environment and put the things that we talk about and put the things we do on a much smaller scale into a larger context. And just the fact that it reaches 80-some thousand households across 7 counties is just absolutely tremendous. And I think it's a great experience for them. I think it's part of what gets them fired up. I think it's one of the major reasons that at least at Katanning, that the class is as popular as it is. And they know about it maybe more so than some of the other schools because the studio is in their junior high. You know, so some of these kids that are taking the class now have memories of me from when I used to be here, you know, so they're aware that there's a studio here. By the time they get to the senior high, they've heard enough to put the class with the studio together and things like that. And I just think it's absolutely wonderful, you know, that they get to come up here, they get to do this, and that they get the reward of knowing that it's real, you know, it's actually being broadcast, it's actually going out, you know, and that it actually means something in that regard. I think it really fires them up.
Right, and I mean, we do, you know, I think it speaks even more to knowing that the students are running these shows because this is a show that we film in the industry, I guess we call it live to tape. There's very little post-production editing done after this. So, you know, this is all, as you're seeing these shows, this is the way they're being filmed. And that's just another thing to mention. And this is nothing more, and I think you'll agree, this is nothing more than a watered-down version of the type of studio that they would find if they decided to continue this education into college.
Oh, yeah,
and
certainly.
the same if they decide to go into a professional circuit somewhere. I mean, obviously the equipment's going to become more high-tech, there's going to be more involved, but the most basic components and job duties and responsibilities that we are teaching them here, they can carry on because it's going to be the same thing when they graduate.
Oh yeah, and that's exactly true. You know, this is a fully functioning studio. You know, it has high-end equipment, not high definition necessarily, but it does have high-end equipment. And there are plenty of studios, including news stations out there that are still running similar equipment to what we have here. And irregardless, it's just the production system, the setup, the way that it goes. It's not going to change. It's going to be bigger, possibly, but I mean, this is an actual functioning studio, and it gives them that experience.
And you mentioned the high definition, and when it's something that we're starting to work ourselves towards.
Yes.
High definition is a very expensive thing to try to take on, and we're slowly but surely phasing high definition in what they call solid state cameras, which are cameras that do not use a tape to record on, into all the schools. At this point, I'm very proud to say that every high school has at least one. And I know that Catania and Ford City have a few more because that's the way the industry's going now. It's very hard to find a tape-based camera now. So we're getting there, and it will probably take 4 or 5 years to get there. And by the time we get there, there's going to be something newer that we're going to have to go out and find eventually as well. But and the challenge is making sure that everything that we get is going to work with each other, because jumping from standard to high definition type of technology is a difficult thing to do. But you know, to kind of go along with the program this year, my goal is to try to have the students more involved than they ever have been before with the productions that Education Today and the AHS-TV studio produces and airs. In addition to what they do down here, what other type of projects do they work on at the high school level?
Well, at the high school, the bread and butter is pretty much the morning announcements. That's something that they do on a regular basis. In addition to that, the level 2 students are already starting on projects right out of the gate. They're writing treatments, which is going to lead to script writing and all of that kind of thing. The way I view the course is it's a year-long course, and I kind of split it down the middle. I consider the first semester TV1 and the second semester TV2. In TV1, they concentrate on the technical aspect, you know, learning what the stuff is, how to use it. In TV2, they're going to get much more into almost a media analysis and then recreating that. So there's going to be short films, music videos, documentaries, commercials, things of that nature.
Okay. And these projects that they're going to be working on, and I know I mentioned it to the students here today, I'm going to mention it to all the classes and the teachers as well. And if these are projects that are good, solid, quality work, these are projects that we're also going to feature and we will air as part of the Education Today programming. Education Today is designed for the purpose of highlighting the school district and showing its qualities and the qualities of its students. And the students that are actually doing these productions are the ones who are benefiting from all of this, and they're the ones that I think it's a nice reward at the end of the day to be able to get what they do out on TV, because it is seen everywhere from eastern Ohio to northern part of Pennsylvania and the west central part of Pennsylvania, even into the northern panhandles of West Virginia and Maryland, is where our broadcasts can get out to sometimes, depending on the cable providers that people have. So it's a benefit to them, and I think something that also gets them excited about it.
Yeah, definitely.
Now I'm going to ask you if you have anything else to add for the benefit of our viewers. It's a standard question we always ask, but I do know we were talking about something earlier about another challenge that we didn't maybe mention earlier about maybe a water incident in the studio.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. It was the second year of the program here, and in the control room, we have still approximately $150,000 worth of equipment, I'd take a guess at. And we had a water line break and destroy over half of the $150,000 worth of equipment. And in addition to that, it happened the night before a very important taping day, a taping day where it was virtually impossible to reschedule.
Right.
So that day in particular, luckily we were into the season a bit. So, you know, all the kids had been down here at least one time before. They had an idea of how it worked, and we didn't have to go through the 2 or 3 hour training that we do in the morning like we did this morning, you know, getting the kids on the equipment, explaining how it works, connecting it to theory from the classroom and all that kind of thing. So I spent the morning scavenging pieces from Catania and Ford City to throw together something that would actually work in here. And the way it ended up, if I remember correctly, we got 2 cameras from Katanning. We got an old RCA line Videotronic switcher from Ford City, and we set up a table just off camera over there, and we ran the whole thing on a little 13-inch monitor. And it was definitely an experience.
Well, I'm being signaled by one of our students that we're running out of time, and so I guess we should wrap this whole thing up. This is what I'd said, a first part of a 2-part anniversary episode that we're doing later on in the fall or early winter. We hope to run a second part, and that show we're hoping will feature Dr. Frank Garetano, the former assistant superintendent of the district, who was really here at its inception.
Yes.
And as well as John Zish, who's now with Human Resources in the school district. But that is all for our show today. I'd like to thank Mr. Don Swanson for coming on today's show. Our thanks also go out to the TV production students of Katanning Senior High School, led by their teacher, Mr. Don Swanson. They were our film crew for today, and they did an outstanding job. Yes, outstandingly tremendous job, to borrow a line from Mr. John Zish.
Or a tremendously outstanding job.
However you would like to word it, but John is missed down here at the studio, and we're looking forward to hopefully getting him back up here as a guest later on this semester. Don't forget to visit our website for updated information about the school district, and have a great week.